And welcome back. We're moving into our first segment for this morning where we're joined by representatives from the Central Medical Laboratory as well as the KHMH lab. We have with us this morning Adrian Martinez, who is the supervisor at the Belize National Blood Transfusion Services, as well as Andrea McKinn, who is the supervisor from KHMH lab. Good morning and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. All right. World Blood Donor Day. And I wanted to say thank you all for joining us. I know there was a walkathon this morning to kickstart the activities.
Yes, at 5 o'clock.
Now, we talk about blood donation very often, but there still is a challenge in getting people to come out and donate blood. Let's talk about the situation in Belize today. How are we doing with blood donations?
Well, actually, there are two types of blood donations. There's the replacement and voluntary blood donation. We're at 80% of replacement and 20% of voluntary blood donations. Voluntary is basically you go into the blood bank, you give without no compensation. That is altruistic behavior.
Yeah.
You go into the bank, you left it for the bank, and then the blood bank is the one who administers that type of blood. Replacement is probably if you have elective surgery, they will ask you to donate a blood so that they can reserve it for you, or you use the blood, then you just have to replace it to the blood bank.
Oftentimes we see people from the community reaching out to the public to donate blood if they have a family member who's in need. How does that work in terms of when you go in to donate the blood? Is it particularly for that one set person, or is there a bank that's available and you're donating to replace what was available?
Actually, we have 4 different types of blood groups. We have a O positive, the A, B, and AB. We have the rhesus factors and the rhesus negative factors. So it depends on the blood type you need and what we have available in the blood bank. Then that's what the physician will ask from the relatives to donate the blood. We're a bank, as any other bank. You have what you have in the bank. So if you're a voluntary blood donor and you have credit with us, we help you. And then if you have a relative that is in hospital and is in need of blood, then they will require you to have a donation. Once you have a donation, the blood is reserved for the patient. A donation is 35 days. So based on the product they're requesting for you, then that's what we will be honoring. The blood bank have the capacity to collect, store, and distribute blood to both private and governmental. We're a national. We have other sister blood banks, hospital blood banks in the other districts. So they do collect blood, but not as the blood bank working hours is from 8 to 5.
I'm sure at the KHMH, that's where you see the biggest demand for blood. Tell us about the situation there, Andrea.
Well, over the years, it has drastically increased comparing to 10 or 15 years ago because we have so much cases, especially nowadays. We can't say that we could get gunshots like mid-month or end of month. Is like every day and any time of the day and night right now. And we do have a lot of bleeding patients, sickler patients. Those are patients that required blood transfusion at any time. Most of the times they do come to the hospital with low HB and they need to get transfused for them to carry up their HB. So, and over the years, as well as you all guys know that pandemic is here, they have put in some more wards such as COVID ward, isolation ward. We have oncology wards, which are cancer patients, and most of those patients, they do need fresh frozen plasma, pack cells, or platelets to be transfused because of the sickness that they have. So in that way, like, we really need blood. Sometimes we do have shortage of blood, as Mr. Martinez have mentioned. I think is one of the challenges that the National Blood Bank have been facing over the years as well, because the population has been increasing, so as well the patients in the hospital.
No, there is a hesitancy for a lot of people from our population to walk in and give blood. Let's demystify what are some of the misconceptions about giving blood, if we will. What are some of those misconceptions that we we hear of?
Well, we did a study. It was part of our thesis from the University of Belize. Fear, it's the lowest in percentage. So we might think that we have that tendency, and because when we were growing, the first thing they tell you is like, we'll carry you to the hospital so that you can get a little stick, or injection. So you grow with that fear, right? But our thesis, it was very interesting because it was like 10% of our population that have that fear for needle. And second, it was most educational. They
It
were
was
not
what?
aware, educational.
Oh, they didn't know that they could donate
Yeah,
blood.
they didn't know what was blood donation, what is the benefits, and what can unit, how can it be fraction.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So people, well, I mean, the fact that you have so many replacement donors means that people are willing to give blood. It's just that the replacement is exactly that. Brighton will use it, so I'm replenishing his stock.
Yeah.
Versus kind of building up a reserve, so when you have a mass casualty, knock on wood at KHMH, that you have enough blood supply. Andrea, take me back to what you said with emergencies at the KHMH. When you talk of gunshots or stabbings, how much blood does a person require?
It depends on the nature of the wound. Because sometimes a gunshot would get at least 20 units of blood.
Like 20 individual, that would be like 20 donors.
20 units, not necessarily that they would replace that or they will have donors with it, because sometimes patients don't make it. So that is where the voluntary blood donation would have come in to help those ones who can't donate blood. We do understand the situation at the moment that you can't find a donor, therefore that you had the time within your hand to look for a donor or to replace what you have been using. It's just like any other bank, like if you don't have a paycheck coming in and you are just withdrawing and withdrawing, at the end of the day you don't have nothing else in your account. It's the same thing with the blood. If we don't donate or replace, we don't have anything else to help other patients.
That's so interesting. That's a side effect of the crime situation that we think of. So a gunshot comes in, takes 20 units of blood. If they survive, you ask them to replace it. And if they don't, that's just been used.
And not only that, sometimes it's like 20 pack cells. And apart from that, they would use fresh frozen plasma or sometimes platelets as well, as that would be like more than the amount that is being out there for them.
So when we hear people making appeals for blood, that's for replacement blood.
Yes, we have a policy in the blood bank that all cases will be dealt in the same way. So far, no one has passed because of not having the blood available. Usually, we try to take control of the situation, stabilize the person, then we ask them to please return the blood so we can continue with further surgeries. Because it's unfair to give them all the blood and then not to return the blood.
And I guess that's the part that people often criticize, because they say, well, why don't you just give them the blood? Why is somebody who has a sick loved one out there begging for blood? But it's a situation that if you don't replace it, it won't be there in an emergency.
Yes. A unit of blood is only 35 days. So sometimes they ask you to donate platelets. Platelets must be harvested from a fresh blood, and it have a shelf life of 5 days. So within that 5 days, you need to find a donor, you need to extract the blood, fractionate the blood, issue the blood, and transfuse the blood within 5 days. And then we have our serological testing we have to go about. So it does carry a lot of manpower.
Speak to us about what the criteria looks like to be a blood donor.
Well, first of all, you have to be a healthy individual, right? You have to be an adult, over 18 years old. We have an age limit from 18 to 65. You can donate blood if you are under any type of medical condition. However, we do and recommend if you can control it by diet. That is, if you suffer from cholesterol, if you are diabetic, if you have high blood pressure, you can donate blood. You have to do it by diet. And then if you have COVID, you can donate blood if you had COVID, or if you have your vaccination. So the other criteria are minimal. Usually when you go to the blood bank, we give you a questionnaire. The nurse will ask you some medical questions, history, your history, your lifestyle. If you're living a risky lifestyle, then you are temporarily deferred. We will give you counseling. We'll encourage you to just try to be on the right side, no? And then you can return back to donate blood.
In terms of those who partake in a lot of physical exercise, what's the status like there in terms of being a blood donor?
Well, first of all, you have to meet the criteria. You need to have the correct blood count. For females, it's from 12.5 to 16.5, and for males, it's from 13.5 to 17.5. Then, if you have the average amount of hemoglobin, then we will draw 1 unit of blood. Usually, the body have from 10 to 12 pints of blood. You need around 8 pints to survive. So once you give blood, then we just encourage you to just slow down for that day, no physical activity until the following day. The body will just recompensate the blood and fluid normally. So you just need to drink as water, fluids, and eat as normally you eat, and that's all.
I hear you say drink water, fluids. One of the things I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, but a lot of people said that they go to the blood bank to donate blood because after they get a bottle of Guinness. Is that true?
Yes, it was true. That was early in the 90s,
I
70s,
was
and
going to say,
80s.
I never got a Guinness when I donate blood. I get juice now.
Yeah. I would say that is in the 1980s. We used to have like 99 donors per year, so we could afford to give everybody Guinness. However, at this point, we collect around 8,000 blood units per year, so you could just do the mathematics, right? And then it does help some, but not for everybody. So if you're working and then you're driving and you just start the morning with a Guinness, it's not recommended.
Right.
So
What are the health benefits of donating blood?
first of all, you're helping someone else, right? You have that peace of mind that you did a good deed for someone. 5 minutes of your life will save somebody else's life, will definitely make a difference. One donation saves 3 lives. And you do your physical check. We screen you for hepatitis, we screen you for HIV, syphilis, cytomegalovirus, and Chagas. Chagas is a disease that it does affect the Belizean population and all through Central America. However, there's little information being given to the public.
Yeah.
So that is a no-no when you have Chagas, because the treatment is very and delicate, and we don't really have that amount, and the blood bank is the only one that does the screening.
Okay. So you get your screening, and you also know that you're helping to save 3 lives with
Yes.
that one donation.
One donation.
How often can you donate?
Every 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrea, let's dive a bit into situations at the KHMH. When you talk about the demand, and when I imagine the amount of reports that we get of gunshot victims, not just people who died, but people who have been shot. Do you ever reach a point where you run low on blood supply?
We do. Once the blood bank is having shortage, we do have shortage as well. And it is very challenging for us to find blood for patients that have donors. Because we need to help everybody. We don't deny anybody.
Yeah.
And we need to find ways how to help those patients, given the fact that it's an emergency cases, that we don't know who will walk in through the front door of the hospital. We have maternity cases, we have bleeding patients, we have those RTA patients, stab wound patients, gunshot patients, like any wound is there. And most of the time they require blood. And whenever we run out low, we need to try see how we could help each and every one. Even if it's just 1 unit, as long as we help.
And just what's the main blood type that is commonly needed?
Well, the main blood type that we have observed is O positive.
Okay.
Uh-huh. I believe that is the demanding blood type within the country itself.
Yeah. And which is the scarcest one? It's O negative, right? That's the one that's hard to get?
It's negative blood, yes.
And which one of the blood types would we classify as the universal blood donor?
Well, the O positive is universal for O positive, and O negative is universal for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But O negative can only receive from O negative.
O negative can only get O negative,
Yes.
but O negative can give all blood types.
For both positive and negative.
So those are superstar blood donors when you find them, no?
They're gold.
So if you're O negative, you
Yeah.
are going to be a king or queen at the
So-
blood bank when you go in.
One concept from the O negative is that I have found personally is that they do know they're O negative, they do know their status. However, they just have the mentality to keep it for themselves.
Oh.
And that's the challenge we're having, because then what guarantee you have that in the future you will be able to give? So it's better to give it when you can have it in the blood bank, and then the blood bank will help you whenever you need.
Yeah.
And that's why we're running with this problem that O negative is very rare, because by nature our population have like 1% of O negative.
Oh wow! Now it's interesting, you know, in other countries, voluntary blood donation make up the majority of their bank, and it takes a lot of effort. I know you said that there were times where schools would step in. I know Spanish Lookout has been a community that usually
Yes.
does blood drives for you as well. Where do you see the most support when it comes to blood donation?
Well, a donation is a donation.
Yeah, voluntary blood
Yes,
donation.
it makes one unit makes a big difference. You can never know. It would be difficult to name
Yeah.
the specific community. However, it doesn't matter how big or small the community is. Once the act is done, we totally appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing the conversation as we go forward, and I'm thinking to myself,
You should go donate blood.
well, because you know I'm hypertensive,
Yeah.
it's something that I think about. But when we are talking about blood donation, what type of mechanisms are in place or initiatives are in place to drive the education forward within the ministry itself?
Well, the blood bank, we have different blood collecting units over a different hospital. We do have health fairs. We do go and make presentations to high schools. We do have activities that whenever they ask us to go, they request for either a health fair presentation, PowerPoint presentation, or just to go and have a blood drive. It doesn't matter where the blood drive will be done, as long as there are blood donors, the blood bank will go. Those are three initiatives. We try to partner with the business community,
Yeah.
with the private hospitals. So it's I would say the effort is being done. We need more manpower. We need more voluntary to come in. If you cannot give blood, at least spread the message. We
Yeah.
try to partner with KHMH. It's our largest blood user and stakeholder. So today we're having a health fair,
Yeah.
and we do have other health departments that will be coming along to join us. We always join them in their yearly event, so we move along.
And there you have your walkathon this morning where people came out to,
Yes.
to show support. I know that we have some testimonials. These were provided by Mr. Tillett from the KHMH with people who said, it was really interesting. They said they realized that they could donate blood when they had to get blood for family members. So let's hear what these people had to say.
The other day my father was in the hospital and he needed blood, and I came to donate blood, and that was how I learned about this walk this morning. And I feel that it was very essential for me to be here to show my thanks to the other walkers, because donating blood is life. Donate blood today, guys.
Ready?
Yeah, ready.
Alright, the participation was all because, donating blood is a big thing for the BDF, so we always try to help out in whatever way we can. So donating blood is a major way of helping out, so that's why we are here to donate blood.
All right, so there you had it, BDF, and then someone who talked about going in for replacement blood and realizing the importance. What do we say to people to encourage them? I know. Let me get back to one question. There was once a criteria that if you had tattoos, you couldn't get, you couldn't donate blood. Is that still the case? And
Yes. Tattoos have to deal with a lot of health issues because you never know who did that tattoo, what was the status, if they have used that needle or not. We have come to our international guidelines. Everybody who had a tattoo for the past 12 months are temporarily deferred.
okay.
That is temporarily. So after the tattoo have 1 year, then you can donate. If the tattoo shop is certified and it have a license, usually when you go and you make a tattoo, they give you a certificate of that tattoo. So once the place is certified, you can donate every 6 months.
Okay.
Within 6 months.
So it's a misconception that people have that
Yes,
you
it
can't.
is.
So it's 1 year after you've gotten the tattoo, and if it's from a certified
Tattoo shop.
institution, you can donate within 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
See, that was also one of the things I was thinking
Yeah.
about too as well. Speak to us a bit about what are some of the replenishment mechanisms after donating blood to be sure that you build back up to capacity.
Actually, when you donate blood, you're donating fluid and red blood cells. The red blood cells, your body naturally replace it. It have a mechanism that you either donate or not, the body will just rejuvenate its own self. So the fluid part, that is within hours, probably 12 to 16 hours. So we just ask you as soon as you stop in the blood donation, post donation here, we just give you a glass of juice or any type of liquid. So then we ask you to drink a lot of fluids because of this weather.
Yeah.
It's very humid, no? So you need to give back the fluid you lost.
Yeah.
And the other components is just a small percentage, so you will not feel the difference.
So maybe we can help people understand where these voluntary blood donations that they could make would go. Andrea, we talked about emergency cases, traffic accidents, gunshots, stabbings, maternity, but there are also people who need it as a regular part of their care. I know you talked about sickle cell patients.
Yes, we do have like elective surgeries. It doesn't matter what kind of the nature of the surgery. Sometimes like appendicitis, those are patients who are emergency as well, and they need surgery right away, and a unit of blood needs to be on standby for them. In the event that surgery, when something happen or the patient start to bleed, then the blood transfusion come into place. We always have blood for standby for elective surgeries in the event that they need, and that is when they need donors as well. 90% of the time, the elective surgery have donors, and the maternity cases as well.
Yeah.
And that is where I believe when they do prenatal testing or prenatal time, when they have to go to prenatal clinic, the doctors encourage them to have a donor at a certain time when they are at the delivery time. But however, sometimes we as people, we tend not to believe or not to abide by what is being there in place. And sometimes they do have emergency as well. Like sometimes they do have preterm or preeclampsia, and those are the things. Those are the things that we see in emergency cases, apart from the other emergencies.
And you said cancer patients
Yes,
require blood.
Sometimes they do require blood. Sometimes they do have low HB or low platelets.
And dialysis patients at times too.
Dialysis as patients at time as well.
So when we see these people asking for blood for their loved ones, if they're not able to get, let's say I'm supposed to get 5 units donated, right? For replacement blood. My family member is going in. They'll probably use about 5. I need to replace it. If they don't get the 5 people, do they still get the blood?
We do try to help. It depends on the nature of the sickness or the illness.
Yeah.
If you really need that 5 unit, we can give you the 5 unit. Once you are trying to making every effort to donate, we do get donor slips, and that is when we know which patients, relative or family are making every effort to help us to help them. But if you can't get the 5 units that you need, we still help you, but it will be advisable to go and replace everything.
After. Yeah, because
Afterwards.
otherwise then it's not, that can lead to a shortage.
Yes, and that's why we always have shortage during the year.
When there are shortages like those, is there an instance where we have imported blood from outside the country?
Not that I know.
Okay.
So when you run low, what do you do?
Well, we have run low but never dry.
Because then you call all the donors
Yes.
and say, please, the voluntary donors.
The blood bank is a blood bank that projects for the future,
Yeah.
Okay.
right? So we collect blood for the next 30 days. So we could stand a crisis probably for the next 15 days. We try our best not to reach to the 0 point.
Yeah.
Because then when we see that our stock is going low, then we just start to make more blood drives, call voluntary blood donors to come and give blood, and then just pressure the relatives to try to replace the donations.
Yeah. I know that even with replacement blood, sometimes I may go in to be a replacement donor, but my blood may not qualify. What happens in that situation?
Well, you will be temporarily deferred.
I'll be what?
Temporarily deferred.
Okay, so like if I took medication
Yes.
and I go in, because you're not supposed to have taken some medications, and I go in and I do the test and they say, oh no, you can't donate because you have just taken meds. You tell me to what? Come back in 2 weeks? What's the situation
Yes,
there?
we just give you the general and picture of what's happening, and then we just advise you, give you some educational information, so that if your blood is low, probably could be in health issues, or it could be in you're just stressing too much, or you're bleaching too much. So we just advise you to sleep, rest, or probably have a good night rest, because it does make a difference. And eat healthy, take some supplements, and then you come back, you return back.
It's World Blood Donor Day, and you started off the day this morning with the walkathon. Speak to us about why such a day is critically important.
Well, our theme this year is donating blood is an act of solidarity. Join the efforts and save lives, right? So this walkathon was to just get everybody together as a community, and we ask for every participant to join us. It's an effort that we're doing. We're trying to create awareness. We're trying to make the younger generation to join us in our celebration, because the younger they are, the better, because usually right now they're more into technology, so they can share their story. You can help others to come along and start donating blood. Our aim is to create awareness. We need to get more other volunteers to come together. We have a health fair that is for the general public. We will be giving different type of services, and usually the blood bank will be present. They will be recruiting along with the Red Cross, so that you can get the correct information who can be a blood donor. If you need to be temporarily deferred or permanently, then you might get those facts.
Okay. All right, and that health fair today is going to be where?
At the KHMH parking lot. That will be from 9 to 2 o'clock.
All right, and where is the blood bank located in Belize City?
Blood bank is located between KHMH and Social Security, where you go and take your vaccination for COVID, right there.
All right. So we do hope that more people are encouraged to go out and become voluntary blood donors. And if they want more information, they can stop by the health fair to
Yes.
get additional information. Right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it. And best of luck.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. We go ahead and we take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by representatives from Belize to discuss Father's Day and the deals that they have. So stay with us.